listening to Earth Oddity, a weekly odyssey into all the oddity planet Earth has to offer. And now, serving it up are Christopher Tiny Sullivan and John Long.
What's up, Dragon?
What's up? How are you, Mr. Fresh Cut?
That's true.
Yeah. I think the entire time I've known you, you've had a long hair.
Pretty much. Yeah, no more ponytail.
I know.
I've become a bit of a public figure now.
That's right.
I want to look my best.
Yeah.
Not that my best is very good.
You said it right earlier. You're sort of a sex symbol now. So
yes.
I mean, we gotta, keep up appearances for the fans out there.
Not everyone's tuning in because we're entertaining.
Right. No.
So for some people, we're just eye candy.
A little bit of eye candy for them. That's right.
Well, I tell you what, man, we have got some stories today, and I've got one here about a guy who thought that Deadpool and a group of armed ninjas were breaking in his house.
Oh, well, all right.
What do you got?
Well, I got Colombian prisoners. They got their guard drunk and escaped, which I think is a pretty inventive plan. So, yeah.
Right now, we're going to start off with this story. Headline here: Arizona mother allegedly used a taser to wake her son for Easter church service.
Okay. Well, I mean, you gotta get your kids to church.
Yeah, you do.
Especially on Easter, probably bought them an outfit too. So,
maybe I'm probably a horrible person, but there's a little bitty part of me that's like,
hey.
I wish I had one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I don't have one because I would use it too much.
Yes, exactly. An Arizona woman was arrested after she allegedly used a stun gun to awaken her teenage son before a church service on Easter Sunday. All right. This is Sharon Dobbins. She says, "I said, get up. It's Jesus Day." Sharon Dobbins, 40, said in an interview with KNXV, "I made the noise with the taser, but I did not tase my son."
Okay.
According to the Phoenix Police Department, Dobbins, she tased her teenage son on the leg in order to rouse the 16-year-old. The mother said she simply stood in a doorway and brandished the taser and flashing it and making it make that sound as a warning. But he's saying that she did. She's saying that she didn't. Huh. Investigators, they did find 2 marks on the boy's leg.
All right. Maybe it slipped.
According to KNXV, the woman was taken into custody and she spent 12 hours in jail on Sunday.
Okay.
I wonder what the jail Easter service was like.
I don't know. I bet you that Easter lunch wasn't too good.
Probably not. But you know what? I bet it was better than most days.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get locked up, maybe Easter is the day to do it.
You're right.
Police were on the phone, and I told the dispatcher, I told her, "You need to be with Jesus right now," said Dobbins, who was arrested on suspicion of child abuse with intent to cause harm. She is scheduled to appear in court on April 16th. Quote, "Nobody writes a book on the correct way of parenting," the mother said. "I tell my sons to honor thy father and thy mother on their day, or their days will be shortened. And that's my favorite verse."
Okay. All right. Well, some would say that the Bible is an instruction book for parenting. I don't know. But I kind of get her. There are times I have to go to my kids and say, "Hey, look, I made a mistake. This is my first time being a parent. So, right. I'm having to learn a little bit as I go along." But, I admire her dedication to get her kid into church.
I tell you what, you better wake up on Sunday morning.
I guarantee you next Sunday he got up on time, And I can't see, even if my mom ever tased me calling the police on her,
Yeah.
Because I know
I would be far more afraid of what she would do to me once she got out.
Exactly. If she's willing to tase you to get you out of bed, imagine what she's going to do when you put her in jail for 12 hours. So, yeah, that's not a good call on his part.
I saw a clip where and again, I want to say, I know child abuse is a thing.
Sure, absolutely.
Maybe I don't feel as bad for him because he's a 16-year-old.
Right.
He's practically a man at this point.
Yeah,
he's driving.
Yeah, he can take care of himself.
I know.
He
Most 16-year-olds are out there eating poison and tasing themselves for fun.
Yeah, snorting things. So, yes.
But then suddenly a mom uses it to get the boy in church, and all of a sudden we got to get the authorities involved.
That's right, yes. I would say her intentions were good. Maybe her her
execution
was flawed a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, make him go to bed earlier the night before Easter or on Saturday night. You get him in bed by 10, 11 o'clock so he'll wake him up a little earlier.
Well, she probably told him to go to bed, and he was like, I can do what I want. I'm my own man.
I'm my own man. I bet she
was right
like, in her head.
She was like, all right. But if you don't get up in the morning.
That's right. You're going to be sorry. It's the Lord's Day. I mean, it's Resurrection Day. We are not skipping church. I got this new hat I'm going to wear, and I bought you that nice slacks and vest and a pink tie, and you're going to get out of this bed. But I can also foresee myself having the same problem with Hudson when he's 16. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I probably can't tase him because he's got like a pacemaker and stuff, but I probably will want to. So he fights tooth and nail every Sunday.
You'll have to use a soap and a wet sock.
Yeah, right. Yeah, something like that. Yes. I will drag my kids out of bed now. I'll get a hold of that ankle and pull them right on the ground if they don't get up. So
my mama did that until she could no longer, she just didn't have the strength to do that.
There came a point where it was like, couldn't do it. But I was always tough to get up to, that's one of my big regrets. You're like a teenager or whatever, and your mom comes and wakes you up for whatever. She's like, sweet, you're like, hey, get up, honey. I made some cinnamon rolls or whatever. You're like, get out of my room, mom. You're like all being mean to her. I regret that now as an adult. So
absolutely.
But this guy, I mean, my mom never tased me though. I will say that. But
it never came to that.
No. There was no question I was going to get up and go to church. I'll just say that much. So
I'm going to share a super brief story about my brother. And Mom, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but this needs to be told because it's hilarious. My brother was 14, and there was one morning he was back talking to my mom, being super disrespectful, super rude, as I'm sure a lot of teenagers are.
Absolutely.
And my mom, this particular day, and she didn't abuse us, she was a good mom. She was a good parent.
Sure.
But she had enough. Mm-hmm. And this is the first and only time this has ever happened that I'm aware of, but she hauled off and slapped him. I mean, right across the face.
I laid it on him.
And he told her that he was like, well, I'm fixing to call DHR, because I'm 14. You can't, that's abuse. That's child abuse.
Right.
And she looked at him, and I was in the kitchen when this happened. And just as serious as she could be, she said, well, if I'm going to go to jail, I'm going to make it worth it. At that point, she went to town. I mean, just, left, right. I mean, smacking.
Beautiful.
And you know what? He didn't call the authorities.
Right. Yes, right. I could in your mother's, put myself in your mother's shoes, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not, we don't do a whole lot of corporal discipline at my house. My kids act pretty well, pretty good. Now, they know it's an option that's on the table, and there's some times where we have to pull it out and use it, but
a lot of times, at least at my house, one good one, and you don't have to do it anymore for like a year.
Yeah, right. Yes. I mean, you can use that as an example. Like, hey, you remember that last time? And that'll carry forward, to me, if I'm having to beat you all the time to get you to do what I want you to do, then it's not working. Yeah, I'm pretty bad at conveying my thoughts to you in a way.
The goal, a lot of people don't understand this. The goal is not discipline.
Yeah.
You want to use it where necessary so that you don't have to use it anymore. Exactly. It's like I tell my son, I don't take any, I'm not glib about this. I don't take any pleasure in disciplining you.
Right.
But I just do this so you act right. And you know what? If that's not working, well, I guess we got to try something different.
Exactly.
Do something that will work.
And that's what I tell my kids. I'm like, it's a very simple formula. Like, you do what you're asked and you do what you're told, and you won't get in trouble. You know? I mean, it's really simple. When you choose to do other things, then that's when we have to find other options. And that could lead into me having to whip you, But I've only ever used my hand to whip them. I don't use a belt or anything. Some people do. I'm just not into that.
It hasn't come to that with me either. A lot of times,
I'll pop a butt. I'll raise up a red welt on you with my hand. I am good at it. I don't have many talents in life, but if it comes to spanking, I'm pretty good.
Well, I know my son, I think the embarrassment for him is what's big for him, because I had to get on to him because he was being disrespectful today. And you know what? I took him back there. I got on him. And told him that his behavior, and he was crying. He put himself in timeout because he didn't want the rest of the family to see him crying. But I told him, I said, hey, when you're done crying, you're going to come out here and sit at the table and eat your lunch like we've told you to 10 times.
Well, I try to use my dad's thing, and it's really worked well. Like, the worst thing in the world is for me growing up was my dad to sit me down and have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather have gotten a beating. And I only ever remember my dad spanking me once my entire life.
Right.
But yeah, so if I try to talk my kid, like talk to them, but I try to make it so painful on them that they don't want to go through that. Right. So when I like walk in the room, they're like, "Oh," I'm like, "I'm not going to beat you. We're just going to sit here and talk for a little while." And then you can just see it just kills them because they know I'm going to keep them as long as I want to, and I'll talk about everything. So, yeah.
Earth oddity.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I mean, I'll bring life lessons in from my past, from things that have happened to other people that I know. I try to offer them enough advice that hopefully over time it'll sink in. Mm-hmm. But the big thing is that they just don't want to take 30 minutes away from watching TV or whatever else for me to sit there and go, "I'm disappointed in the way you acted, son."
Right.
Which of course doesn't work to Livy because you can sit her down and talk to her and you can be like, "Hey, babe, I'm disappointed in you." Yeah, and then she starts talking about something. "Well, today at school, blah, blah," and I'm like, "Well, we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about how you were just, raising your voice at your brothers and sister, or your brothers and mom, and we can't do that." "Well, but I mean, little Sally went around and did this and did that." And I'm like, "We're not talking about that." So she drives you up the wall. All right. New CPS school grounds being built on site of estimated 38,000 unmarked graves. So,
yikes.
Yeah. You want to talk about scary?
This is kind of like the scene in, what was that movie? The Blind Side. Uh-huh. Remember where she's telling the kid that the body farm is underneath the stadium or whatever? Right. This is kind of like that in real life.
So, this has been a 15-year ongoing effort up in Chicago. A 15-year effort to build a school in the city's Dunning neighborhood is underway with an unusual complication. Construction workers are taking careful steps to avoid disturbing human remains that may lie beneath the soil. The $70 million school is to be built on the grounds of the former Cook County poorhouse, where an estimated 38,000 people were buried in unmarked graves. Among the dead are residents who were too poor to afford funeral costs, unclaimed bodies, and patients from the county's insane asylum. There can be, and there have been, bodies found all over the place, said Barry Fleig, a genealogist and cemetery researcher who began investigating the site in 1989. It's a spooky, scary place.
It sounds like it.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, you talk about getting some haints in there.
Yeah.
Workers have until April 27 to excavate and clear the site, remediate the soil, and relocate an existing sewer line. The school is rescheduled to open for the 2019/2020 academic year, but the spokesman for the Chicago Public Schools would not say what type of school it would be. Well, I'll tell you what type it's going to be. It's going to be haunted.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to be on top of some grades, said Nicholas Spiozzo, who is a site contractor, and says it's an economic boom for the community. 135,000 square feet. The school will accommodate about 1,200 students, according to Sposato. That's how you say his name, Sposato.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, right.
And then the next thing you know, Carol Ann's missing. The TV people are back.
They're here.
Fleig, the genealogist and cemetery guy, said he's nearly certain there are no intact caskets buried underneath the proposed school ground.
Not a one.
Bodies were primarily buried in two formal cemeteries, though scattered human remains have been discovered during previous construction projects near the campus. Children, patients from an infirmary and a tuberculosis hospital, victims of the Great Chicago Fire in 1871, Civil War veterans were all laid to rest in what's known as Dunning Grounds, a 320-acre stretch on the city's northwest side. Yeah. So in 1854, they opened up the poorhouse there and a farm, and gradually added the insane asylum, an infirmary, the tuberculosis hospital to the property. So basically,
this just gets better and better. This sounds like the perfect place to stick a middle school.
So basically, right in the right in Chicago, they were like, we got this spot right here, and this is where we're going to put all the stuff that we don't want here around the rest of what they probably at that time considered normal society.
I can imagine them at a city hall meeting thinking, well, there's a big, huge field there. How come we've never put anything there?
Never done anything there.
And then someone's like, oh, well, there's a bunch of people buried there. Oh, we can get around that.
The bodies were unearthed in the Dunning neighborhood by workers who were building single-family homes and installing sewer lines in 1989 and again in 95, the Chicago Tribune reported at the time. No human remains have been found since the city began probing the school site in 2013, according to Bryant Payne, a spokesman for the Public Building Commission. So maybe they think they found a spot where nobody's there. Like this maybe was where the old insane asylum was, and they weren't burying people under the slab for it or whatever.
Right.
So... yeah, at the time, let me skip forward here. Janine Lambin, 48, was part of an archaeology team hired to investigate the Dunning grounds in 1989, shortly after a backhoe operator struck a corpse while developing condos.
Whoops.
Yeah, but we were talking about getting the zombie virus
you
on
moved the tombstones. You didn't move the bodies.
At the time, Lambert was a 19-year-old freshman at Loyola University, who just went to the Final Four, by the way.
All right.
Who joined the crew for on-site learning and training. Once you got the topsoil off to start digging down, you could see the outlines of coffins, Lamlin said. The bodies would emerge. I know it's really a creepy and weird thing for some people, but for me, it was about getting to know someone in this really interesting way. The bodies tell stories. So he sounds like a really interesting person.
He does.
By then,
I see dead people.
Exactly. By then, corpses had been buried at Dunning for more than a century. Lamblin said some of the bodies had been buried with jewelry, glass beads, Bibles, coins, and other artifacts. Mothers were buried with their infants, too. For a lot of them, you could tell where their hands had been placed. It was absolutely incredible, she said. Let's see here. Where's the other thing? Oh, historians said that thousands were buried in a third cemetery, which sits directly across the street from the school's football field.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Home of the 12th man.
That's right, home of the 12th man. Those who couldn't afford burials, though, were and bodies who were unclaimed also lie in those cemeteries. Anyways, long story short here, what do you do with a person who has no family or money? Or this guy said, he said the irony is that he was sworn against the North. Essentially, Northerners' government played for his burial. That was a Civil War soldier who somehow ended up there as a prisoner of war and got buried there because he didn't have any family or money. But it's of course, people are against this because people are against everything in life nowadays.
Don't matter what you're doing, somebody's going to be against it.
Fleeg here says these people were forgotten in life and they shouldn't be forgotten in death. So he said we shouldn't disturb this site.
Right.
Which I can see the point in that. The bigger point to me is you're going to have a haunted school.
Yes.
You're going to have ghosts rolling down the hallway, all kind of stuff like that. And we need to figure out how to maybe find another site. Surely there's enough room, for 120-something thousand foot school in Chicago. They got to have some empty real estate they can tear down and rebuild on.
It is Chicago, though.
It is. It is. But
and then another thing, I agree. It's such a weird thing. Like, what's the amount of time? Because when you think about it, you think as long as people have been, wandering the earth.
Right.
I try to think, well, somebody's probably died about everywhere by now, haven't they?
I thought about that too. Like, chances are we're all sitting on somebody dead.
Right.
We just don't know about it. Especially in the South where they just bury you in your backyard or whatever, wherever the homestead was, out underneath the old oak tree. And then 100 years later, somebody comes, buys that land and builds a shopping mall on it, and nobody even you're not digging in that spot. They just pour.
Or even before that, maybe it was a tribe of people coming across the Bering Strait or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
One of them could have dropped dead or lost a fight with a saber-toothed tiger. Who knows?
Exactly. Well, think about this, and this is always an amazing thing for me to think about. So in Alabama, and I'm sure all over the United States, you can find arrowheads, or pieces of arrowheads all over. I know our house when we used to live out on Old Fett Road, a swinging Thomas in the backyard. Look down, there's an arrowhead sticking out of the ground, full point. Nice arrowhead.
I like to imagine every single one of them was stuck in somebody at some point.
But imagine the literally millions of arrowheads they had. That should show you how big of a society. Of course, we know that that Moundville was huge. It was the Big Apple of the Mississippian era Indians. I mean, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people lived there.
And that was before all those dirty Europeans brought over the diseases.
Right. Yes, bringing smallpox to everybody, and you got conquistadors
and
that
syphilis.
Come through. Yeah, right. Yes, syphilis was big. Yeah.
Dude, that's disgusting.
It made a big run through
that
things.
That pretty much brought down the Aztec Empire.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Their secret weapon.
So there were, I think sometimes people will mistakenly think that Indian tribes were pretty small bands, but they were large, like tens of thousands of people. Just to put out the amount of arrowheads we found, there had to be that many, people. I mean, it wasn't like one little Native American guy sitting there napping out, 100,000 arrow points.
His life's work.
Yeah, right. Just for the fun of it. I know they didn't have TV and stuff, but I mean, there were probably other things they could do with their time.
I would imagine survival back then. There was a lot on your plate.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and you don't want to be carrying 800 extra arrowheads if you need to run from a wolf or a bear or something like that. So.
And not to mention, on top of all that, trying to stay alive, maybe you want to have a kid too.
Yeah.
So now that's more people you got to fend for, and make sure they have clothes and they stay warm and they don't freeze to death, and make sure they have clean water and.
Right. Yes. And making kids probably a big activity if you don't have TV and the internet taking up your time, video games, things like that. It's like, hey, sun's down, nothing left to do. So
and think about this: every single kid might be your wife's last.
That's right.
So
yes,
that's terrifying.
It's very, very much so. So we're probably all on dead people. Just to bring it back around.
Yeah, that's the point. Dead people everywhere.
Dead people are everywhere. Our houses are all built on dead people. But I wouldn't just jump in willy-nilly to building one on top of 38,000 dead people.
We stand on their shoulders, both metaphorically and literally.
That's right. Yes, we do. We do.
Well, all this talk about dead people, let's talk about a dead alien.
All right. Dead aliens are my favorite.
This comes from the Dallas News. The headline is, Dallas lawyer offers a reward for the return of Martian pilot's long-missing grave marker.
Ooh.
Are you familiar with this story?
I'm not.
Dude. Okay, we're going to get into it. The lawyer who's offering the reward, this is new to me, but I've actually heard of this before. So let's get into this. A Dallas lawyer will pay for the return of a grave marker for a Martian named Ted.
Ted?
Yes.
Okay. I figured out a little more interesting name, but all right.
That was stolen from a cemetery in Aurora, Texas, which is about an hour's drive northwest of Dallas. The civil trial attorney, Stratton Horns, is offering a $1,000 reward for the gravestone's return, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram reported. Local legend says that a spaceship crashed in Aurora on April 17th, 1897. The stolen gravestone, an asymmetrical rock with an etching of a cigar-shaped aircraft shown on the city's website, marks the site where the extraterrestrial pilot of the spaceship was buried. The Dallas Morning News article from 1897 described the spectacle, saying that while the pilot's remains were badly disfigured, enough of the original had been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world.
Okay.
Okay, and this article has the old article from way back in 1897. So I'm gonna try to read it the best I can. Let's see. Aurora. About 6 o'clock this morning, the early risers of Aurora were astonished at the sudden appearance of the airship which has been sailing through the country. It was traveling due north and much nearer to the earth than ever before. Evidently, some of the machinery was out of order, for it was making a speed of only 10 or 12 miles an hour and gradually settling toward the earth. It sailed directly over the public square, and when it reached the north part of the town, collided with the tower of Judge Proctor's windmill and went to pieces with a terrific explosion, scattering debris all over several acres of the ground, wrecking the windmill and water tank and destroying the judge's flower garden.
I love the accent.
The pilot of the ship was supposed to have been the only one on board, and while his remains are badly disfigured, enough of the pilot was placed together to see that he was not an inhabitant of this world. Mr. J.T. Weems, the United States service officer at this place and this authority on astronomy, gives it as his opinion that he was a native of the planet Mars.
Of course.
Papers found on his person evidently record his travels are written in some unknown hieroglyphics that cannot be deciphered. The ship was too badly wrecked to form any other conclusion as to its construction or motive of power. It was built by an unknown metal resembling what is a mixture of aluminum and silver, and it must have weighed several tons. The town is full of people today who are viewing the wreck and gathering specimens of the strange metal from the debris. The pilot's funeral will take place at noon tomorrow. S.E. Hayden.
All right. That's the accent.
Yeah.
Put me back there. I was in 1897.
I did my best. So in 1897, the story is, and this is before there was a Roswell.
Right.
1897, and just to let everybody know, this is also before the Wright brothers flew at Kitty Hawk.
Of course, right, yes.
So there was probably like balloons. I'm sure there were Zeppelins at the time, but you know, the air travel was in its infancy.
Yeah, very beginning stages.
And there was allegedly, there was something that crashed into a windmill, and somebody, who knows who it is, but somebody wrote an article for the paper. And also back then, papers, they weren't like today.
No.
Basically, anyone could write a letter or an article into the local paper, and they would run it.
Yes.
You know, and this guy, he said that it was a Martian. Which,
of course. I mean, the dude was like an expert on astronomy.
Yeah, he was.
And he pretty much declared it to be true.
So anyway, that's his license there. Ned Alien.
Okay.
But he was alleged something hit this windmill, and the town, they threw all the wreckage in a well. They got together this Martian, and they buried him in a cemetery in Aurora.
All right.
And the story kind of died down. It was not talked about or mentioned for nearly 100 years.
Well, CIA wouldn't let that happen.
Right. And then it gets brought back up, and you know, since then it's been the subject of many a History Channel documentary.
Sure. Right. And now somebody went and stole his headstone.
Yeah, somebody took the headstone, which was it was a rock. There's pictures of it if you go online and Google it. But it's got like a little UFO, and it was there for a long time. Somebody stole it. I'm sure it's probably sitting on somebody's shelf beside all 20 seasons of the X-Files on DVD or something.
Either that or in some frat house somewhere, you know.
Skull and Bones.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, there's a lawyer there. He's offered $1,000 for somebody to return it. I don't think it'll probably get returned, but
probably not.
It is a neat story. I don't think it. I mean, something probably happened. I don't think an alien crashed there. Because
who knows? Why haven't we exhumed it?
That is an excellent point. Yeah. I'm familiar with that. Twice.
They have.
Twice. Well, no, twice they've tried to exhume it, and every time there's the local funeral authority or something, they've like nixed it and said they couldn't dig them up there.
Okay.
Which I think may kind of tip us off that it didn't really happen.
Well, I will say this. All right, we have here in Alabama a courthouse in Carrollton.
Yes.
All right, the face in the courthouse window is famous. I'm not going to go in the whole story, but
super famous.
Super famous. I thoroughly believe that is a hoax. I don't believe it ever happened, and I believe that they won't let you get up there too close to it or anything, because I think that's like really the only reason you have to go to Carrollton. So
that's the only reason to go to Pickens County is to see the face in the window.
Ned may be the same thing. You know, like, hey, let's get some people into this town, and no, you know, whatever, can't exhume his body and stuff. And now
they have a festival every year.
Oh, for real?
That surrounds this whole
Ned
thing.
Fest?
I don't know what it's called, but if it's not called Ned Fest, it should be.
Yeah, that's a beautiful name. Yes. I mean, logo wise, it will work well.
Right.
Yeah, so I could see that because I definitely 100% in my heart believe the face in the Carrollton courthouse window
it's just somebody's greasy face print.
Yeah, it's just fake. I mean, and they'll be like, "Oh no, they replace it. And it comes back all the time." Like, of course, because they want to keep people coming there.
Right.
But I have forever wanted to ride by and shoot it with a BB gun or something. Just to see what happened, but I can't do that because it's probably illegal to shoot it. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't shoot at a courthouse anyway, so.
Not to mention, you'll curse yourself and your whole family.
Yeah, if it is, right. Yes, that's about as bad as building a school on a 38,000 dead people. So, but moving along, these guys who will never have their face in the courthouse window because they are now escaped. This comes to us from the BBC. Colombian prisoners get guard drunk and escape.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. 2 prisoners have escaped from a maximum security jail in the Colombian capital of Bogota by getting a guard drunk and convincing him to let them go and to go buy more alcohol.
So basically, hey, let us go get some more alcohol.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, you got to promise to come back, though.
No, you guys are coming back, though, right? Which I got a story I can tell you, or it's about a book I read. Here when we finish up.
All right.
2 inmates never returned, and the police are currently hunting for them. Colleagues of the guard at La Picota jail said his breath smelt of alcohol and he refused to be breathalyzed. The prison director said the production of homebrewed liquor inside the prison was common despite frequent checks. Mm-hmm. I think that's a problem everywhere, you know. The 2 fugitives were identified by names that I cannot pronounce, had been arrested and sentenced.
Because they're Colombian.
Yeah, for 40 years in prison for kidnapping. That was back in 2003 when they got their sentence. Who had recently, the prison authorities said they had not been able to detect and any damage to the structure of the prison or its gates, and they were therefore working on the assumption that a guard colluded to help them escape. The versions of the events coincides with statements of other guards who said they had seen the 2 inmates drinking with one of the guards, and they had convinced the guard to let them leave on the promise they would come back with fresh supplies of alcohol. And this is Colonel Ricciarte, who is the prison director, said the weakness of this official meant that he ingested this liquor, and these inmates took advantage of that to convince him that they needed to leave the prison. So basically, it's the age-old story of getting the guard drunk and sneaking out of jail. But I will say this.
What's funny is, though, he actually let him go.
Yeah, I mean, why would you, if you were the guard, you're like, well, look, I'll go. You know, y'all get in your cell. I'll be back. We'll get the party rocking.
He's probably he couldn't drive.
Yeah, maybe so. But I mean,
but you know who can drive?
Yeah,
those 2 inmates over there.
And I thought also they may have like had 2 batches of alcohol, and like his batch to like put a bunch of NyQuil in or something like that too, you know, or whatever to make him drunk. But I read a book once, and it's called Marching Powder. Great book. They're supposed to make it into a movie. And it was a guy who had actually the guy who wrote the book met the prisoner it was based on, and but they were in prison in Bolivia. But basically, he said a lot of South American prisons operate this way, and it was like a frat party, basically. First of all, you had to pay for your own set. Like when they decided to make this prison, the government just took over a few blocks in the middle of the city, put a fence around it, and we're like, okay, this is a prison now. So you had to rent your room. You could, if you had enough money, rent another, like apartment basically, and put a store in there and sell candy bars and cigarettes or whatever you wanted to. But they produced more cocaine inside that prison the inmates did and would ship it out.
Dang.
Oh yeah, that book was so amazing, man. Anything you wanted, and people would, like, tourists would come who would like backpack through South America or whatever, which I would not recommend backpacking through South America. Right. And would tour the prison. Like, you could go to the prison gates, and they had inmates who would give you a tour. You'd pay them, like, oh, here's $50. And
show us around.
Show us around, and you're like, okay, this over here is where we make the coke, and hey, you want to do some blow or whatever.
And this over here's a pool table.
Yeah, right. And back over here, that's where all the rich, because it had like sections, just like a neighborhood. This is where the rich people live. This is where the middle class. This is where the poor people live. These are the people who don't have any money to buy one. They just live on the street, like like in a city. It was really amazing. So I just say,
wow.
Prison conditions in South America are a little
different,
little different than they are here. So yeah, but two guys did break out of the jail in Jasper by using peanut butter to smear over the door number. I don't know if you remember that, the Walker County prison. So things happen everywhere. I'm not saying we're without our own problems in our prison system.
I'll tell you what, a prison like that, who wants to break out?
Yeah, right.
you know? Was it Pablo Escobar? He designed and built his own prison, and then he agreed to stay there for his sentence.
Yes, yeah, and it was like his house, and he would get all these famous soccer players that come up and play soccer with him and stuff.
And he would be in and out of there too, because he had tunnels.
Yeah, he could do whatever he wanted to do, basically.
But it was basically, like you said, it was a huge mansion. It was just a party in there.
Yeah, and he just partied the whole time.
Yeah.
So they do things a little differently down in South America than we do up here.
Man charged in Dry Tavern standoff thought armed ninjas and Deadpool were burglarizing his home.
Okay.
Did you see this at all?
No.
Well, here you go. State police detained John Cochran III as a person of interest during the Dry Tavern standoff on May 30th. Cochran was charged Thursday in connection with the situation that brought a SWAT police response and closed Route 88 for hours. An arrest warrant has been issued for a man who caused a SWAT police response at his Dry Tavern home. This was last year, but he's just had a warrant, put out for his arrest.
Right.
When he was found on his rooftop shooting through the ceiling because he thought armed ninjas and the comic book character Deadpool were breaking into his home.
Okay.
John Cochran III, 31, of 980 North 88 Road, was charged Thursday with possession of a controlled substance, possession of drug paraphernalia, reckless endangerment, and resisting arrest.
Okay.
Cochran and his girlfriend, Holly Burkowski, were both hospitalized for evaluations after the May 30th incident that prompted state police to close Route 88 in Dry Tavern for hours. At about noon that day, police received a report that a man in the 900 block was shooting from a rooftop. A Cumberland Township police officer was nearby and heard the shots, and he went outside and he saw Cochran shooting into his home from the roof. He then jumped off the roof and ran across Route 88 carrying a woman who was later identified as Burkowski. Police initially responded to what they believed to be an active shooter situation and found Cochran and Burkowski running from their home where the shots were fired. Cochran told police several people that they didn't know had broke in and chased them into an upstairs bedroom. The two were then able to escape by climbing onto the roof. The state police specialized response team wearing paramilitary uniforms and body armor surrounded the house thinking someone was still inside. When troopers entered, they found no one, and they found no signs of a break-in, which they're ninjas. You're not going to find any signs of a break-in.
Yeah.
However, there were multiple bullet holes found inside the house. Burkowski had not been charged in connection with the incident as of Monday afternoon. Police said Cochran was irate, combative, and uncooperative, and he had to be tased in order to be put under arrest.
Okay.
And according to these court documents, Cochran had 0.71 grams of crack cocaine.
All right, now we're getting to the crux of it.
Yes, when he was arrested. State police later interviewed him about the incident, and he told investigators that he and Burkowski were in their home when 5 to 6 individuals broke in and demanded money, which I'm thinking they probably don't have a lot of money.
No, no, crackheads usually don't have a lot.
He's a mercenary. You got to pay him way more.
Yeah, right.
Cochran explained that the robbers had blood-red eyes and they were dressed like ninjas except for one robber who was dressed like Deadpool. Cochran said the heavily armed ninjas chased him and his girlfriend to their upstairs bedroom, and he began to shoot at them with an AR-15. He was unsure if he hit any of the imaginary robbers when he climbed out of a window onto the roof and continued to engage the robbers who were dressed like ninjas and Deadpool. Cochran told police he and Burkowski had done some cocaine the previous night and into the morning, but he was, quote, absolutely telling the truth regarding the robbers who were still inside his house.
No, look, y'all, now, I know I've been doing some crack. I know I've been smoking some crack, but I am telling y'all the truth.
Fortunately, nobody was injured during the incident.
Well, first of all, let me say, who among us has not smoked a lot of crack and thought we saw ninjas? I mean, let that person cast the first stone. Okay,
look out! Here they come.
But I mean, that's the crux of the whole matter. There, I mean, cocaine will make you get a little paranoid, and I don't know about crack or anything, but I'm sure it's the same thing. And you know, maybe if you start firing off rounds around your apartment, you're like, now we need a story to tell the police. And
well, I would just like to say, if police, if they go in there and they don't find any signs of a break-in, and they don't find anybody in there, well, he said they were ninjas.
Right.
So, of course, you're not going to find any signs of them breaking in, and they're not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, right.
Or if they are, you're not going to see them because they've done... ninja stealth to disappear into the shadows.
If you're gonna find, if some ninjas do break in and they leave stuff behind, it's gonna be like a throwing star stuck in the wall, or like those little claw things they crawl up walls with, that they put on their hands. It's not gonna be, there's not gonna be a whole lot of leftover ninja paraphernalia left around.
And also, I'll just say this: he was shooting at Deadpool with a gun,
right?
But he's got Wolverine healing ability.
Yeah,
that's not going to bother him. You can't stop Wolverine with a gun.
I mean, I just have to say, if you get all cracked up and you shoot your house up and the police show up, you just might as well just lay it all on the table and be like, "Look, man, I'm sorry. I just did too many drugs. Take me to jail or whatever." Don't make it worse by lying to the authorities and waste their time. So.
I don't know. I think ninjas may. Well, here's my reason for believing the ninjas didn't attack his house, and it's because he's still alive.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
if Deadpool had come after you, he would have succeeded.
Yes. Yeah, ninjas too. Their success rate is really high from from several movies I've watched and Wu-Tang albums I've listened to. So yeah, they don't mess up too much. So
no.
All right. So moving along here, this comes from the Portland Mercury. Which, shout out to my cousin Casey and her husband Ryan, who live in Portland, Oregon. This may be them, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Need a pothole fixed? Maybe a Portland anarchist can help. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear face masks. A new Facebook page has appeared touting the handiwork of Portland Anarchist Road Care, an organization who claims to be taking the state of the roads of PDX, which is what they call Portland, into the hands of the people. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, most people, you hear anarchists, you get a little, you think some weird things, but these guys are actually not really doing anything that bad. Excuse me. After this year's rash of winter storms, the abysmal state of roads in Portland is frustrating and downright dangerous to cyclists and motorists. That's how Portland Anarchist Road Care said they got their start. Here's their mission statement from the About section of Facebook. Because we believe in building community solutions to the issues we face outside of the state, because society portrays anarchists as only breaking windows and blocking roads, because when faced with anarchism as a political theory, statists often ask, but who will fix the roads? Because the city of Portland refuses to adequately repair roads in a timely manner, we are Portland Anarchist Road Care. We believe in community-oriented direct action. We believe the state cares more about funding a militarized police force to suppress free speech than caring for and repairing roads. The city of Portland has shown gross negligence in its inadequate preventative care through this winter's storms and through its slow repair of potholes as weather has improved. Daily, this negligence is an active danger to cyclists and causes damage to people's automobiles and an increased risk of collision and bodily injury. Portland Anarchist Road Care aims to mobilize crews throughout our city, in our neighborhoods, to patch our streets, build community, and continue to find solutions to community problems outside of the state. So, let me just say, I have anarchist leanings. I always have. Yes. The main problem with anarchy is that
who's going to fix the roads?
Well,
and apparently that's been dealt with. So let's all be anarchists.
Anarchy relies too much on individual responsibility, and we know that in general, people are not responsible. So these guys actually are going out to solve a problem. They're not involved in the government, you know. So every conservative,
they don't believe in government,
right? Yeah, they don't believe in government. Every conservative here is like, we need a smaller, more limited government. I mean, they're actually doing something about it. So
these guys are awesome.
Yeah, right. The art of rebel road care isn't new in Portland. Last year, a group called PDX Transformation took bike lane safety into their own hands, illegally redistributing cones to protect cyclists across the city. So they would take cones from like construction projects and put them over on the bike lanes. Excuse me. Portland Anarchist Road Care said they've already patched 5 potholes on Southeast Salmon and are monitoring the patches to make sure they hold up. It won't be easy, but their hope is to turn the public perception of anarchism from this, which is a guy in a Guy Fawkes mask burning a flag while staring at his phone, to this, which is a guy with a mask on fixing a pothole.
Yes.
So, for me, hats off to these guys for actually doing something.
Yeah.
I thought I saw a more inventive way a year or so ago of a guy going around and painting dirty pictures around potholes. So
they would have to come out there and
fix
that?
The city would have to come fix that. And so I thought that was like an amazing idea.
Yes.
He would paint, like stuff that you wouldn't want your children to see as they're walking down the sidewalk or whatever. And so the city would come out and fix it real quick.
Yeah.
So.
Which nobody wants to see those pictures graffitied.
No,
the end game.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He's playing the long game.
He's playing the long game here. He's like, the only way we can get the government to move on this. I'm tired of, having my rims get bent on my bicycle or whatever. So I'm just going to spray paint all over the city. So anyways, so anarchy, not necessarily as bad as some people believe it is.
If people... I've heard so many people say that people are basically good.
Yeah.
That everybody deep down wants to do the right thing.
If
that was the truth, anarchy would work.
Right. Yeah. But it won't. Now, if we took everybody, that was decent in society, and we all got together on a line and we said, hey, no government, let's all just take care of business. Whatever needs to be done, everybody pitch in. It would work. It may work in small scale things, but I don't think over a large society.
I assume it worked in tribes.
Sure. Yeah.
For thousands of years.
Yeah. And of course, some tribes had hierarchy too. It's true. But it worked for a while.
Yeah.
But
problem is all these different tribes start fighting with each other.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I did see something earlier about on Facebook. It was, and I didn't get into an argument with a person, but it was like, we never needed borders or passports until white people took over the whole world or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, you obviously don't know about tribal wars that happened for centuries around over land, and you guys have encroached into
over
our
land,
hunting
over
territory.
food, over women.
Oh, really, women, they'll cause a lot of wars. Still do.
Don't mean to.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, guys sign up to go into the army to impress their girls all the time. So I'm just saying,
Helen of Troy, she was so hot that two nations were willing to have this huge long war to get her back.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, and that's much respect to the ladies out here that may be listening.
I would go to war for my wife.
Oh yeah. I mean, I
would build a Trojan horse and burn that city to the ground if they had her locked up in there.
I would do that too. Yeah, yeah. Can't say she'd do the same for me.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay.
I think she would go out there and ask politely.
Yeah, no. Do you think we could get him back? They're like, no. It's like, okay.
Well, just think it over.
Yeah.
And pray about it.
Get back to me. Just get back to me, okay?
Yes. That's what my wife would say. Well, John, I tell you what, we've got a couple more stories here, and this story here is actually kind of dark, and it might take us a while to get through it. So what do you say we do? Community news. Go ahead and hit that up.
All right.
And then give everybody some time to put little young years away, and then we'll get into this.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. I want to hit up, Cajun Curl, CajunCurl.com. You go check them out, get your spices for your food. I thought we had a great, Tiny came up with a tagline last week, taste the spice, not the heat, I will say I've been putting it on ham sandwiches all week. It's amazing. It's amazing on a ham sandwich. So
I'm still doing the potatoes. I had potatoes last week, and man, I love it on there.
It's
so
awesome.
good.
I may start carrying it with me, to like restaurants and stuff. I mean, I'm not ashamed. I'm gonna get a like those old guys you see, they got like a hot sauce in their holster.
I want to ask them if they have any. Hey, do you have any Cajun Curl? And then when they say no, be like, what kind of establishment is this?
Yeah, like, oh, well, I'm taking my business elsewhere. Yeah, so really,
it is delicious. It's low sodium.
Beautiful. It's all natural, no preservatives. Yeah.
It's a little bit spicy, but it's not overwhelming. Yeah. And I'm one of those people who actually do like really, really, really hot food. My wife hates it. So this is a good in between for us.
I'm not a big
This is something we can both agree on.
I'm not a big hot food guy, and I love it.
Yes.
I'm not one of those dudes that wants to hurt while I'm eating something.
Right.
You know,
I like it to be on the edge.
People like wiping sweat off their brow while they're eating a chili. I'm just like, it ain't worth it, man.
But Cajun curl, if you get some Cajun curl,
worth it.
It's not quite as hot, but it still tastes spicy, but it don't feel spicy.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't feel spicy. That's the thing.
You will not need the ice cream or the sour cream or the glass of milk to chase it away.
Right.
It leaves you tingling just good.
Yeah, I mean,
just
you feel good with us over with.
Yeah.
Right.
We had one review last week, and this comes from Cash BG93. Superpower of common sense. 5 stars. Finally, news through the eyes of common sense in a funny manner. I love to listen to these guys.
All right.
So, Cash, we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I know some Cashes.
Send us an email. We'll send you a pocket knife. Yeah. Nobody's collecting on these prizes.
I got mine in my pocket right now. Let me hold it up right there. I've been carrying it around since you gave it to me. Use it every day. Every day. Used it yesterday to fix a table at work. So
saw Jordan Horton today at church, and I was like, hey, send us an email. Yeah. We'll get you a pocket knife, but I'll just keep them all for myself.
On, Jordan. Come on, Jordan. Sings like an angel, by the way. She does.
She does. She really does.
I mean, beautiful, beautiful voice.
Do we want to give an update on hashtag Dragon Booty?
Okay. We can. Okay. I'm a man of my word.
Yes.
All right.
Last week, and
if you missed that episode,
I feel kind of bad. Not bad enough to actually go back on anything, but I kind of put you on the spot.
It's fine.
Because you had just got done saying, that you would never get a tattoo, or you don't want a tattoo, you're scared of needles.
Right.
I can't say it better than you. What was the deal?
Well, I said, I don't remember how we got there, but I said that, if our Facebook page, Earth Oddity Podcast, got 1,000 likes in this month.
The month of April. Now, listen, at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, 12 p.m. We got $9.99.
If we're 999, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
You can go, cry to your mama on your big, huge pillow. Right. It's not happening.
And that I would get a tattoo of a dragon on my butt.
Yes.
Because I found out that Long, which is my last name, means dragon in Chinese. So I would get a dragon tattoo on my butt. My wife was not real happy to hear that. But, I mean, my body, my choice. All right? So, if it happens, which it looks very unlikely.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 139 people who have liked the page. Now, a few people have liked the fan page that we had or whatever, the first thing they've asked to be in it. I'm not counting those people.
You have to go Earth Oddity Podcast.
Yes, right. I'm not counting y'all. There's probably been 10 or 12.
Right.
But some people are really like, oh, well, it's going to happen. And I was like, y'all don't know my friend group. While they would enjoy this happening, the fact
you have over 1,000 friends.
Oh, yeah.
And if every one of them would go like it, it would happen tomorrow.
Right.
But it's not going to happen.
No. They cannot be bothered to click buttons,
I will say that first couple days when the lights were just ting, 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 and I was like, oh, man, what have I done?
Yes.
And then but that was one day. It trickled off. And I told myself today, if we get in the studio and we've got 250, that's 1 week of the month of April. That's a quarter of the way there. We're on pace.
Yes. But
we are not on pace.
No.
So if y'all want this to happen, you're going to have to pick it up.
I'm confident my backside will remain unblemished.
I think so.
Yes. And I don't want to get a tattoo. I really, honestly, I don't want a tattoo. I'm not a tattoo guy. I just don't want a tattoo. So, anyways,
if it happens, and it's not going to happen, but if it does, you're gonna Facebook Live the experience.
Yeah. I mean, we can record it. I don't know if Facebook Live it. I don't know how bad it'll hurt. And I've been working.
You don't want to cry on the internet.
I'll say this: over time, my as I've grown as a Christian, my use of language poor language has really died off.
Right.
But I did drop an end table on my foot the other day, and I found out I hadn't fully got that mastered. So. Just a couple of them just came on out. So I don't know how bad a tattoo hurts. We may not want to Facebook Live. That's all I'm saying.
Gotcha.
I may say a few choice words.
Something you can edit
it down or whatever.
Yes.
But I will allow pictures of my butt to be put online, and I'll show everybody. If you're one of the few out there who haven't seen my butt and you want to know what it looks like, you're gonna have to go like the page. All right. I'm not afraid to show my butt off. All right, I don't have a lot there. I mean, I'm like Hank Hill. If you ever seen Hank Hill's booty, he
had to wear a prosthetic butt, didn't he?
Yes,
in that one episode.
Yes, right, he did. So,
such a good show.
It's a great show. Yeah, which I tell people now. When they ask what I do. I tell them I sell furniture and furniture accessories.
That's awesome.
But yeah. So if you want me to get a tattoo on my butt, you need to go like our Earth Oddity podcast page. Tell your friends about it. Tell 1,000 of your friends about it, and get them to get on board. So,
and heads up, it's not looking too good.
No. I imagine I'm going to have my lily white backside for a long time.
We are. Well, you know what? I'm not sure. We're almost beating my sister-in-law's real estate page at this point.
Close, right.
Not quite, but we're almost there.
That's really the end goal in all this. We just want to be better than her.
All right.
So make sure your kids are, out of the car going to school or whatever, or away. Put your headphones in.
Yes, this is it. This next story involves a cult. And I want everyone out there to know that no one has gotten killed. No. But it does get a little bit dark. Yeah. We're going to try to talk about this as professionally as possible. But if you have any small kids, maybe you're just not ready for that conversation yet. Again, not that we're going to talk lewd or crude about this. Yeah. But again,
it's just sensitive subject.
Maybe you just don't want to talk to your kids about human reproductive practices yet.
Yes, there you go. Right. Yeah.
So we're going to have you a little countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Here we go. John, have you ever heard of NXIVM?
Well, sort of. We had a little comment. I didn't get all the way into the article, so yes.
Now, this is not the antacid medication, NXIVM. This is NXIVM spelled NXIVM.
Okay.
That makes no sense to me.
No.
But I guess that makes sense to Hollywood people, I guess.
NXIVM. That's what I would say. NXIVM.
I mean, I saw in multiple articles it is pronounced NXIVM, just like the antacid.
Piggybacking on that antacid train.
Yes.
If you got heartburn problems, join our cult.
Well, there is a man, and his name is, and I want everyone to know out there, I got one article here that I'm kind of going to, use to keep, track of the situation somewhat, but I dove down the rabbit hole this last week. I read a bunch of articles about it, and so a lot of this I'm going to be speaking from memory. I do have a page of horribly scribbled notes to go from.
That's like more prepared than we've ever been for anything. So
yes.
All right.
At home, I just about had the
yard going to different places,
the thumbtacks and everything. Yeah. There is a self-help group. Mm-hmm. They would say not a cult, but there's a self-help group called NXIVM. It was started in 1998 by a very how would you say, charismatic individual named Keith Raniere.
Keith Raniere.
Now, you probably haven't heard that name before. If you have, he ran sort of a pyramid scheme before that. I think it was called Consumers Direct or Buyers Direct or something. It was one of those where, hey, we're going to, you pay membership into this club, and then you get all these discounts.
I think I had a cousin who did that once.
Yeah, I think they did get in some trouble. They were reported to the Better Business Bureau about something, and it kind of went by the wayside. And
I'll just say this: don't call Roden and Fields a pyramid scheme, because you will make some mothers, like stay-at-home moms, super mad. Found that out on Facebook one day. I apologize to anybody who sells Roden and Fields. So I know it's legit now. Y'all have all educated me. Yes. I'm not. I was just saying, don't call it one. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Well, anyway, his next big enterprise was NXIVM.
All right.
Now, NXIVM is a self-help group. It's basically you pay all these thousands of dollars and you go to these classes, these seminars, and you can sign up for these retreats, and it combines New Age things and it focuses on looking within and introspection, and
probably got some crystals involved. I
probably,
imagine.
And then if you pay all this money and you go through all these classes, it's going to make you a better person, and then you're just going to go out there and be successful because you've listened to all these lectures, and now you know the secret.
Right? I mean, the world and its negative energy has been holding you back.
This was started in 1998, and I don't know how quickly it took to blow up, but he started trying to court, actresses, actresses.
Smart move.
Millionaires. Yeah. People with a lot of money, a lot of means.
Yeah.
And it, for whatever reason, it took hold. And there's an actress by the name of Sarah Edmondson. Now, have you ever heard of Sarah Edmondson?
That's the girl from Smallville? Is that right?
No. This is a different lady.
Oh, okay.
This is a lady. She has been in a ton of stuff.
Right.
She's also done a lot of voice work for a lot of kids shows, Max Steel. Most recently, you might recognize her from some Hallmark movies.
Oh, okay.
She was in Love at First Bark.
Oh.
She was
one of my favorites.
She was at Home at Midford. And what else did she do? She was The Wedding March 2, Resorting to Love.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Wedding March 2 is, it's so
there's
much
not
better
much,
than...
There's not much that Hallmark movies airs that my wife doesn't see. So she was familiar with this lady when this came up. She was very excited about NXIVM. And in 2005, she took a bunch of classes and she got super excited. And in 2009, she actually helped head up a self-help center in Vancouver and brought it to Canada and was super, super duper excited about it.
Yeah.
Well, last year, somebody within the group, and it is rumored that this was Allison Mack. Now, Allison Mack is an actress who was in the show Smallville.
Yeah,
she played Chloe Sullivan. And I don't know if it was her, but she is the one who headed up. Basically, it comes up to her and says, hey, there's another group.
Ooh.
And it's a huge opportunity, but it's also super secret.
Okay.
And she's like, well, what's that? And she's like, you basically you take this vow to be this other lady's. It's basically, she come to find out later that it was a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
But it's a cult pyramid scheme where Keith Raniere is at the top.
Yeah.
And then his slave, and they use that word, his slave under him.
That's a touchy subject this day.
Was Allison Mack.
All right.
And then she goes out and gets other women to join this this secret sisterhood that was called DOS, by the way. Now, DOS sounds for, let me see if I can look up.
Direct Operating System or
No,
whatever?
that's not what it stood for. It stood for Dominus Obsequious Secorum.
Okay.
That is Latin for Lord over obedient sisters or female companions.
Well, hey, let me just stop you right here.
Yes.
All right. Here's why I will never be part of a cult. Okay.
Yes.
Is because it always comes back to we're going to sleep with your woman, right?
or you can't have sex at all.
Yeah, right.
It's one of those two things. It's always going to be a sexual stream on one side or the other.
Someone else is going to be sleeping with your wife, or you can't have sex at all.
Ever.
All right. But as soon as the cult leader guy's like, hey, I talked to God and he told me I need to sleep with your wife, I'm like, we're leaving. We're leaving.
Yes.
All right.
Because no, he didn't.
Yeah, no,
he told
didn't.
me something totally different.
Yeah. Hey, well, I was pretty clear.
That's funny. God didn't tell me that. He said it was supposed to be just me.
Right. So I'm just saying, for those of you out there, just word of warning. If you're going to a church in like a storefront or somewhere and it's got one of those nightclub names like Echo or, whatever. And, the leader's like, well, God, if you want to be faithful to God, I need to sleep with your wife. Then you need to just go ahead and get up and leave.
Yes. Well, anyway, last year, she says that she was taken to a house. She was taken in a room. It was her and 4 or 5 other females, and they were told to strip down.
Okay.
And they were told to take a vow. And she had been told that they were going to get tattoos. What happened was they got laid up on a massage table, and the other women would hold them down while this other lady took a cauterizing pen that's typically used in surgery and etched a symbol on her lower hip that she was told stood for the 4 seasons, but most people are now saying that that's actually his initials.
Oh, okay.
He's not the one there. There was some other lady there.
Yeah, right.
They're all being held down on a table, getting this dude's initials branded on their lower hips.
Wow, and they just did it freehand? They just
did it freehand. Also, I'd like to point out that this wasn't a brand. This was a cauterizing pen. A brand, you heat it up and you just pop it on there and that's it.
Yeah, a lot of African American fraternities they'll brand their letters. Yeah,
this was a 20 or 30 minute endeavor
wow.
to mark these women.
I feel like the brand's more efficient.
Exactly.
Let me make a recommendation to you, Mr. Multimillionaire Pyramid Scheme Operator dude.
Maybe she wouldn't have got so mad if they would have used the brand.
Yeah, right.
Because after this happened, it was at this point where she is holding down another lady on a massage table, and she's the one up next. It was at this point she thought, wait a minute, this is a cult. Now she still got the initials cauterized on her. She still got the mark. But it was soon after that she left, and she went to the authorities. Okay. The authorities said they weren't going to do anything. She went to the New York Times.
Ooh.
And October 17th of last year, they published a shocking report on NXIVM and its inner sex cult called DOS, or simply referred to as The Vow by members.
That's a name of a Hallmark movie right there.
After this happened, Mr. Renier, he up and fled.
Okay.
He went to Mexico.
All right.
But after this report that was published by the New York Times, and you can go Google it and read it, it's fascinating. I assure you.
I will say
I have
this.
read it.
He should have went to Ecuador because they don't extradite to America, by the way.
Well, anyway, after this, that led to a FBI investigation, and then that later led to a federal complaint that was issued against Mr. Keith Raniere. And here is an article that basically summarizes the complaint.
Okay.
The headline is NXIVM, What We Know About Alleged Sex Trafficking and Forced Labor.
Wow.
Okay. On March 26th, I guess I'll just go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. This man has been arrested. He was arrested on March 25th, which was a few weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago.
He was arrested by Mexican authorities in Puerto Vallarta.
Okay.
And he was extradited to Texas.
Should have went to Ecuador.
He's now in Oklahoma.
All right.
He is soon to make his way back to New York, where he will stand trial.
Right.
Mexican authorities closed in on Keith Raniere, co-founder of the controversial cult-like self-help group NXIVM. The Albany, New York-based NXIVM is, according to its website, quote, a community guided by humanitarian principles that seek to empower people and answer important questions about what it means to be human.
Oh, and branding.
Branding. He has been charged with sex trafficking and forced labor conspiracy.
Wow.
Raniere, 57. Oh, I forgot to mention this. He also took the title Vanguard. All his followers refer to him as Vanguard.
Okay.
And every year for his birthday, there's a week-long celebration that's referred to everybody as V-Week. It's basically a week-long party for him.
All right.
Yeah. He was arrested at a $10,000 a week luxury villa near Puerto Vallarta and extradited to Texas for arraignment. He did not seek bail during an initial court appearance on the 27th in Fort Worth, and he will be transported to Brooklyn this week for preliminary hearings. On Tuesday, the FBI agents raided his home and also the home of NXIVM President Nancy Salzman, who is referred to by followers as Prefect, as well as another home in upstate New York. And this home belonged to Frank Parlato. Now, he is a former publicist for the group. I think he's since left.
Yeah.
I think he found out about DOS.
Yeah, probably
and
so.
he was like, wait a minute. This is going to get me in trouble.
So you're getting all the chicks here, Vanguard?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, I'm done.
Maybe he wouldn't share.
Yeah, right.
All right. Considered a cult by some experts, NXIVM was thrown into the national spotlight last fall when the New York Times interviewed several women claiming to have been forcibly branded as part of an initiation into the secret sect called DOS. After that story broke, the U.S. Attorney's offices in Brooklyn reportedly launched an investigation into NXIVM, and he fled to Mexico. Okay, we've talked about that. Here is what comes up in the complaint. Okay, since founding NXIVM's umbrella group, which is Executive Success Programs, or ESV, this is the corporation that's over all the rest of it. He has allegedly maintaining a rotating cast of about 15 to 20 women that he has certain types of relationships with.
Okay.
And according to the complaint, all women must remain faithful to him, and they're not permitted to have relationships outside of this group that he's in.
That's a tough one.
Yes. Also, this group's teachings, they advocate that men must have multiple partners, and that women
are... So they're Mormon. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry to all the Latter-day Saints out there. I'm sorry.
They're like early Mormon.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's a bad joke.
Or what is it? Conservative Mormon?
Yes.
Fundamentalist Mormon, yes. And also that women are supposed to remain anonymous. I mean, anonymous. I bet they wish they could.
Yeah.
Women are supposed to remain monogamous and that DOS strives to help women overcome their inherent weakness and their over-emotional nature. So this is basically just misogynistic. This is is misogyny. Yeah. Just, textbook misogyny.
Weak little ladies need me, and you can't sleep with anybody else but me. But I'm
required to have more people. Yeah.
Well, I'm Vanguard. I'm the Vanguard. You guys understand.
He's the Vanguard. You know what a Vanguard do? All right. DOS master slave participants allegedly thought they were joining a women's only sorority and that Renair's position at the top was withheld. They didn't know that, hey, wait a minute, there's this dude who's like head of the whole thing. Per the complaint, NXIVM Secret Society, DOS, is a pyramid-style organized criminal group with levels of slaves headed by masters. The document alleges that Ranieri is the singular ruling master and sole male member of DOS, and the society is rumored to have formed around 2015. The document claims that DOS slaves have to go out and recruit more slaves.
Of course.
And then they become their masters. Yeah. But they all have the same master, which is Vanguard. Ranieri.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about. This is basically a pyramid scheme with women.
Right. Not like Roden and Phyllis.
Yes.
Unless there's something about that I don't know about.
Okay. When luring a new DOS member, the complaint says that masters required, now this is important, collateral.
Ooh.
Now, what do you mean by that? Well, a collateral was incriminating photographs or maybe sensitive videotapes or maybe confessions about a certain person. This material was headed over, and then it was used to basically keep people quiet. Like they were told, hey, you got to give us some dirt on you, and this is going to prove your devotion to the group. But really,
it's like if you ever want to leave, you're like, we're going to let everybody know.
Yes, once you get in the group.
Robbed a liquor store when you were 12 or whatever.
So. Or sometimes
worse, I'm sure.
Sometimes maybe it wasn't even true.
Yeah.
It was just you pinned a confession letter to a whole bunch of bad stuff. You get in there, if you want to leave, or maybe you get a boyfriend.
Yeah. Some dude comes along, sweeps you off your feet. You're like, hey, I need to get out of this, and I'm gonna get my brand changed to his initials.
It's like, oh no, you don't, because we're gonna take this collateral you gave us. And
it says you were the mastermind of 9/11 right here.
We're gonna ruin you. We're gonna ruin your career if you try to leave this organization. This is straight up evil.
Yeah, for real. No joke. No joke. This he's evil.
And you know what? I wonder what they had on Mrs. Sarah Edmondson, because she did turn tail and she blew the whistle on the whole thing.
She's like, I don't care. Tell them whatever,
So I don't know. It's interesting.
Which I googled her picture. I know she is now. She's been in a lot of stuff.
She's been in a lot of stuff. Yeah. Okay. It also states that DOS slaves were allegedly forced to participate in this initiation ritual. We talked about this, where they would be branded with the dude's initials.
Yeah.
Some people also think that the KR, because the R is upside down, and if you turn your head and squint your eyes, you can make out A and M. Some people think that that's actually Allison Mack, the Smallville actress.
Yeah.
She supposedly headed up this group for him.
Yeah.
So DOS members were allegedly forced to provide acts of care for masters, and of course they were required to have a relationship with Ranieri. You can guess what that entailed. They were also required to undergo what they called acts of denial, which was sometimes they had to take icy showers, they had to stand for an hour at 4 a.m., and they had to have 500 to 800 calorie diets, because he really liked the thin women. And that was all for him.
Man.
Says here that allegedly he did not act alone. Ranieri's co-conspirators, who were dubbed CC1 and CC2 in the complaint, reportedly played active roles in the alleged sex trafficking happenings within the group. CC1, who was a direct slave of Ranieri, is described as an actress with a long-time relationship with Ranieri. Her video interviews with Ranieri are also mentioned in this complaint. Frank Parlanto, NXIVM's ex-publicist and a whistleblower, he stated that the Smallville actress Allison Mack, 35, is CC1 in this complaint. And she is expected to be arrested shortly.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, she was taking part in all this. She was going out and recruiting other slaves and building this whole thing up.
Let me just say, this dude right here is not... He's not good looking enough to head up a pyramid sex scheme cult,
Apparently, you just got to get one. You just got to get that one Allison Mack who's going to go out and recruit all these other people for you. Yeah.
Wow.
The complaint also describes agents obtaining a search warrant for Ranieri's Yahoo email address. I would love it if that email address was like Vanguard69 at yahoo.com.
Yes.
If that's not taken, somebody can get that. Maybe you can sell it off to him when he gets out. Within those emails, agents reportedly uncovered an email from CC1, who is most people think is Allison Mack, including a letter that was meant to destroy the character of her mother and her father, and a note that she allegedly typed up that was addressed to social services, where she admits to abusing her nephews.
Oh, man.
So at this point, I have no idea, but right. I think that's probably not true. This is probably just something that she was required to do for this group. Okay, in addition to being forced into certain encounters, air quotes there, with Raniere in various locations and circumstances, the complaint also describes that at least one of the Jane Doe's other assignments was to edit up to 95 dense articles that were written by Raniere. So not only is he maintaining these relationships with all these women, he's making them just do stuff for him. You know, work as his secretary, you know, wash his clothes, clean his house, you name it. He's using these women as, well, he straight up called them slaves, and he's using them as such. Of course, it mentions in the complaint that he may be getting rich off all of these NXIVM classes.
Sure.
I imagine you don't have a secret sex cult without having, millions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to have some initial capital to get that thing going.
And it's also alleged in this complaint that he got financial help from a lot of high places. According to the U.S. Attorney's detention memo, Claire W. Brofman, heir to the Seagram's fortune, and that it is alleged that she financially supports Raniere. In the memo, they wrote that Brofman has financed the defendant repeatedly over the years, including providing him with millions of dollars and paying for private air travel costing up to approximately $65,000 a flight.
Wow.
She has also paid for numerous lawyers to bring suits against NXIVM critics. She also owns a private island in Fiji, which the defendant has visited, and both Brofman and the defendant have contacts all around the world.
Oh, well.
So,
let me just say,
let's talk about some famous people who are in this. I mentioned a minute ago that the heirs to the Seagram's fortune, they're in it. Stephen Cooper, he is acting executive chief of Enron.
Oh, okay.
He has been a big advocate of NXIVM. Emiliano Salinas, he is the son of the former Mexican president. He is listed as their VP of ethics of executive success programs on their website.
All right. Well, we know how ethical everything runs down in Mexico.
Yes. In addition to Allison Mack, Kristen Kruk, is that how you say her name? She played Lana Lang on Smallville.
Okay.
Now, she was in it too. Now, she has spoken out on Twitter saying that she had no idea about the secret DOS group. She says she wasn't in on that, didn't know about that. But she was high up in the self-help part, the NXIVM group. Also, some actresses who were from the show Battlestar Galactica, which I didn't watch, but
me either.
Nikki Klein and Grace Park, and they did some other stuff too. That's probably just what they're most recognized from. They were high up in the self-help group NXIVM.
Well, I'd say that's something else right there.
It's crazy.
That guy must be a heck of a salesman. That's all I want to say. Heck of a salesman. I don't see me getting this even off of the ground floor. I mean, of course, I'm married. Deidre probably wouldn't go along with it, but I just don't see me being able to convince that many people to join up with my online multiple partner relations thing. So
that's just crazy. Like, I don't understand how people. I mean, how do people convince people to just give them all your money and just devote your entire life?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've only convinced one woman to devote her entire life to me, and that was like an 8-year process. I did pull the wool over her eyes pretty good. So, I don't know how you do that, and I don't know how somewhere along the way, like the lady, the actress lady, like when they pull out the old cauterizing pen, you got to be like, all right, I don't know if this is for me.
That she still got the mark, though.
Yeah, right.
She wasn't quite ready to. She was on the fence, but she wasn't quite yet ready to go to the authorities.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like when they were like, okay, well, next up, you got to lay down here, take your clothes off, and we're gonna mark on you with this thing. We're gonna burn it into your flesh. That's why I'm like, hey, I'm out, guys.
I forgot to mention this house that he would have all these women go to. It's referred to as the library. It's in Albany, New York.
The library.
And it's got a hot tub. It's got a big, huge bed. It's basically just a, it's a Playboy mansion, but it's an apartment kind of, sort of. But it sounded pretty nice from the description I read. Yes. And when he was in Mexico, again, he was staying at this, $10,000 a week villa. Right. And he was staying there with another group of followers, one of which was Allison Mack. Or it's alleged that they chased him all the way back. I don't know what they thought they were going to do.
Yeah, but that's tough. I mean,
but Allison Mack, she was there. She was in Mexico with him, and she chased him all the way back to the...
You may be pretty powerful in your sex cult, but the cops don't care. They got guns and stuff, Yeah. So... Yeah, I don't know, man.
But bizarre.
I know we're bumping up against time, but that's rough.
I just wanted to say that for the end. It's one of those stories where we can't not
there's
talk
so many
about
twists and turns to it.
Yeah,
so many people are involved,
and even that's just my summary of 2 or 3 hours of research. I went down the rabbit hole on this, and it is bizarre.
Yeah, wow, man. No one's ever asked me to join up in something like that.
Well, you don't have any money.
Right. Yeah, I don't have any money.
If Earth Oddity ever gets big and famous, maybe then we'll start getting all the cool cult
solicitations
invites.
to get into some cults. Yeah. Maybe we'll be like, hey guys, we'd like y'all to join our cult. It's called the Southern Baptist Convention.
I would like to put out a guarantee to the listening audience right now that we will not try to induct you into a cult.
Never. I will never ask you to join any kind of cult.
I promise, if I ever start soliciting other people's wives and girlfriends, I will immediately cease and desist this podcast.
That's right.
And I will probably be murdered soon after that.
I don't think my wife would take too kindly to that. But we're not going to try. We'd maybe ask you to donate to the cooperative program. That's about it.
10%. And even that's on a voluntary basis.
It's a Lottie Moon time, guys. So.
Well, you have been listening to Earth Oddity Podcast. We thank you so much for the download, no matter where you get us. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Podbean app, YouTube, TuneIn,
bring it on wherever you can find it.
We thank you so much for listening to the show. This show right here is actually on Facebook Live.
That's right. Did a whole show on it.
You won't get the sound effects. No. I would recommend you listening to the produced show, but this is just to maybe get us some visibility.
Since we got some new people that have liked the page, trying to get #Dragon Booty off the ground.
You can follow us on Twitter. We are @_Earth Oddity.
We got Instagram. Yeah, that's _Oddity_podcast. Hadn't done a lot with that in the past few weeks. Been really busy, but I'm going to get it fired back up.
And we have an email. This is earthoddity@planetmail.net. Send in your comments, your questions. Let us know what you think about NXIVM. Maybe you were a former member. Yeah. Maybe you were a secret member of DOS. Who knows? Let us know about it.
Hey, Vanguard, be out there listening, buddy.
And you have access to a computer.
That's right.
We'd love to hear from you. Hey, everybody, have a great week. We love you. Yes. And we'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
This has been a very odd production. Thanks for listening.